It's just
and we say good morning to the University of Chicago and Luigi Zingales out there. He'll teach them about Italian football. Stay with us. This is Bloomberg.
Startups and research universities like New Jersey Institute of Technology are fueling the innovation economy. And few people are better positioned to see what's on the horizon in New Jersey than physicist and state representative Andrew Zwicker.
How technology is transforming our financial sector is revolutionary, and so much of that is in New Jersey. We are innovators when it comes to agriculture, and there is opportunity now for great transformation in how are we going to grow food in an ever-growing population, and how do we turn urban centers into agricultural centers. Autonomous vehicles is another one where we have some of the world's leading experts, and how this will transform how those who are either elderly or are visually impaired or mobilely impaired can start to use autonomous vehicles to transform their lives and have access to transportation they could have never had before.
NJIT, New Jersey Institute of Technology. Learn more at njit.edu/research.
Asset managers who seize change to launch new strategies, add distribution channels, or exploit new technology to re-engineer the investor experience are often rewarded. However, in an industry paralyzed with complexity, few act with agility or decisively. Few run their businesses strategically, yet the most competitive managers in the market know with the right partner and a flexible operating system, you can. Go boldly toward change with SEI Investment Manager Services.
I'm Steve Meyer, president of SEI's Investment Manager Services. At SEI, we understand the emerging forces that will define success for asset managers and what firms will need to compete tomorrow. That's why we continually optimize SEI's global operating platform. If your business requires greater agility, our advanced technology, integrated best-in-class systems, and multi-asset expertise can be your catalyst for business transformation.
With SEI Investment Manager Services, you lead the charge in a competitive marketplace. Learn more at seic.com/seize change.
I've got to tell you about our beautiful city break in Bath. Midweek is the perfect time to beat the crowds. Just an hour and a half by train from London. It was so relaxing. We headed straight for Bath Christmas Market. Oh, I can still smell the roasted chestnuts and mulled wine from the chalets. Next, we donned our skates for Bath on Ice. I'm a natural. Didn't have to hold on to anything or anyone. There's so much to do in Bath. I'm already planning my next trip.
Discover the magic of Bath this Christmas. Plan ahead at visitbath.co.uk/Christmas.
For the independent bookseller who found you that first edition.
For the baker who brings the smell of freshly baked bread to your door.
And for the barista who never needs to ask your name.
We've all got a part to play.
Every little tap keeps your high street alive.
And helps your communities thrive.
So if you love where you live, shop small.
Shopping on your local high street can make a big difference. Shop small. Only by American Express.
I love Black Friday. Busy shops, crazy people, average deals. It's so much fun.
Said no one ever. So be savvy and do Black Friday the easy way with Smarty. Grab a huge 100 gig data SIM for just £17 a month on the Mega Plan. And with no credit checks, speed restrictions or contracts tying you down, you can kick back with the best Black Friday deal around. Now that's Smarty. Search Smarty Mobile to find out more, but hurry, as this deal won't be around for long. See smarty.co.uk for terms.
There is simply nothing else like it. Giraffe strut, bird swoop, gazelles leap. And as the music soars, the entire Serengeti comes to life around you. This is Disney's The Lion King. Experience it at London's Lyceum Theatre. Visit thelionking.co.uk.
Keys? Check. Lunchbox? Check. 8-year-old ready to go? Check. There's one more thing you should check before you leave. Your travel. There's a new segregated section of Cycleway 4 under construction on the A200 Creek Road around the junction with Deptford Church Street. So expect delays due to lane closures. Plan ahead and check alternative routes at tfl.gov.uk. To the Mayor of London and TfL, every journey matters.
On Twitter, powered by more than 2,700 journalists and analysts in over 120 countries. This is Bloomberg Radio. Now, a global news update.
The Trump administration is appealing yesterday's ruling by a federal judge that administration employees, current and former, are not immune from congressional subpoenas. But Ariane DeVogue reports the White House is cheering the Supreme Court, putting a hold on Congress's request for the president's tax information.
The Supreme Court said the House will not get President Trump's financial documents, at least for now. That's a win for the president. Now a House subpoena has been put on hold, and President Trump will ask the justices to take up the case this term.
And that could result in a June decision just as the general election campaign heats up. Airlines are dealing with heavy snow and wind in Denver as that Midwestern storm moves west.
They've already had 32 inches before this storm, another 10 to 12 on top of that. Snowing heavily right now in Denver, low visibilities, planes in and out of there could be very slow today.
Meteorologist Chad Myers. Stock futures little change from yesterday's close with record highs. The Ravens 45, the Rams 6 in Monday Night Football. I'm Michael Toscano.
The world's top business and political leaders prefer to speak to someone who understands them.
We're looking right now at the White House.
Balance of Power with David Weston, weekdays at noon Eastern on Bloomberg Radio. Bloomberg, the world is listening. Markets, headlines, and breaking news 24 hours a day at Bloomberg.com, the Bloomberg Business app, and at TikTok on Twitter. This is a Bloomberg Business Flash.
And I'm Karen Moscow. Watching shares at Best Buy this morning, up about 4% in early trading. It entered the holiday shopping season with good momentum after posting quarterly sales that topped analyst estimates and raised its full-year outlook. Dick's Sporting Goods boosted its earnings forecast for the year, beating the highest estimate of analysts we surveyed. Its shares higher as well, up 13.5%. U.S. stock index futures, are drifting this morning with European shares as investors search for signs of progress in China's comments about prospects for a Phase 1 trade deal. We check the markets every 15 minutes throughout the trading day on Bloomberg. Again, futures, they're little change. The DAX in Germany is down about 0.1%. 10-year Treasury up 3/32, yield 1.74%, and the yield on the 2-year 1.59%. NYMEX crude oil is up 0.2% or 9 cents at 58.10 a barrel. COMEX gold little changed at 14.6380 an ounce. The euro 1.1018 against the dollar. The yen 108.97. And that's a Bloomberg Business Flash. Tom, Paul, and Lisa.
Karen, thanks so much. Bloomberg surveillance this morning. Tuesday, we're into the holiday. Are we in the holiday mood yet?
Oh, yeah. I am.
Are we in the holiday mood? I got a lot of grief. I'm having pumpkin construction or pumpkin something.
Composition, which is not a thing.
It better be a thing for what I'm paying for it. It better be.
It's compost. It's not
Cooking,
composition.
Paul?
We are cooking. We are hosting.
You're hosting.
Hold on a second.
Do you realize his kitchen is bigger than yours or my places?
Combined. Yes, but notice it was the royal we, which means that your wife is doing it.
Probably,
and
yes.
you're probably going to be sitting there offering moral support.
Right.
Right now, and this perfectly times with what I see on the Bloomberg screen, year-to-date, SPX up 25%. If you go back to the beginning of 2018, SPX up 10.8% with dividends invested. Have you participated? This is a really, really interesting moment. Fiona Frick is with Unigestion of London, and they manage based on risk. And this goes back, folks, to the laureate from Stanford, William Sharpe, and the Sharpe ratio, and the idea of the reward you get versus the risk taken. Fiona, we are thrilled you're with us. Did your firm capture much of this up 25% 2019?
Yes, I must say that we did, because we turned positive on the economy in January. Although the macro environment was decreasing, we saw the move of the central bank in the U.S. as a sign that there would be a sort of floor for the equity. And since then, we also see that macro environment has been getting a bit better. We measure economical behavior using what we call diffusion index of different characteristics of the economic cycle. And we saw that since January, there were more news coming up on the positive side than there were news on the negative side, which showed that although the macroeconomic environment was going down, it was stabilizing. We went into growth assets in January, and we went into even more in summer.
And what was so interesting, Fiona, and this is with so many people who really not enjoyed this rally, is the now what of it. Are your vectors of your diffusion index, are they still moving higher, moving green, where you can stay invested in equities?
So we base our decision on three things. So first, the macro environment, second, valuation, and third, sentiment. So the macro environment, we still find it positive. IMF just went out with some statistics around 3%. We share that view, and 3% is a decent growth. The problem is valuation today. Obviously, we are in the 80% percentile of valuation for the S&P 500, perhaps 60-70% for Europe. So obviously, stocks are much more expensive than they were a few months ago. So we are positive on the macro. Negative, we would say, on valuation because things are becoming more expensive, but positive on sentiment because sentiment, we saw that the rise which took place in the market since January was not followed by a lot of people. And you can see, obviously, retail funds were mainly into bonds, etc. The result of companies were quite positive on the positive surprise side. So we remain positive on sentiment. So I would say that we remain positive on two data, which is the macro environment and the sentiment, and negative on valuation. So we are overweighted in equity, but we've put some optionality if there is some correction that could happen at some point. As long as the macro environment is good, we'll stay there.
I got to bring in my colleague, Paul Sweeney. He's in charge of optionality here, Paul.
So, Fiona, a lot of investors are saying they're seeing more value in European markets, maybe even emerging markets relative to the U.S. What is your view?
I think in the emerging market there's more uncertainty, depending on political states, etc. We are still. It's true that in terms of valuation, they are cheaper than US and Europe, but they are cheaper for a reason: is that there is more risk. The growth is mainly in the US next year. We are positive in Europe. We see a sort of stabilization of the economical scenario. Germany flirted with recession, but it's getting better. And we saw that we could have, at one point, some fiscal policy in some countries, especially in Germany and in the Netherlands, which would provide perhaps a cap to if the macro situation were getting worse. So we are positive on Europe because we think that the situation is stabilizing. We saw that the monetary policy has been quite clear. Mrs. Lagarde has been quite clear that rates will remain low for quite a long time.
Yeah.
And there is more consensus about the need of a fiscal policy in some countries.
So just looking right now at what you're doing with money, I was looking at some of Una Justin's different moves over the past few years, an increasing push into private equity, direct lending. What do you think the opportunity is there? Where are you investing with those direct lending strategies?
So we do mainly private equity, and we see strong demand from clients in a period where obviously equity are quite valued and that the bonds are not delivering the return that would be expected for pension funds and insurance. So there's really a move from our clients to private assets, and private equity being one of the important part of the cycle. So it's true that we invested at Unigestion more in private equity in 2017 as we did an acquisition of a company based in Zurich. We are specialized in the small mid-market because we believe that there is a place where you can construct a more positive performance due to the fact that when you buy a company, the progress will be done mainly by business transformation and not necessarily on adding leverage on leverage.
Fiona, thank you so much. Fiona Frick with us, the Unigestion of London. Greatly appreciate your attendance today. Paul, the heart of their work goes back to variance, and I'm big on Sharpe with no beta. There's three measurements of reward and risk, and Are you a big fan of beta? The whole beta analysis and
no, I'm
beta
not.
This individual
I'm a
stocks,
deep fundamental
his
analyst.
Face is just falling. It's like I'm not on the.
They tried to push that on me at the business school, but I kind of come back to
I just
fundamentals and valuation.
I go real pure on it, and as she points out, it's about the variance that's out there. And this year has been so odd. It has been the strangest year with the VIX here under 12. It's just the Greek letters this year look goofy.
Which is the reason why you've seen a number of macro hedge funds either close up shop
you mentioned
or
Louis
reduce.
Bacon.
Louis Bacon and what happened with Moore. And, they're huge just stepping back and going back to trading. But this does highlight the difficult environment right now for macro.
Let's pick up on a deal yesterday that we missed on. It was later in the morning. And Paul Sweeney, this is Novartis, which is the basic idea of Swiss and European large pharmaceuticals just go out and get something. Remember that frenzy 15 years ago?
Yeah, you look at this
moving they bought.
Yeah, we were talking to Sam Fazeli of Bloomberg Intelligence. He covers all those big pharma companies. He was saying, this is you see the big pharma companies. They have to go out and either develop growth through their own pipeline, new drugs, new therapeutics, or they go out and buy it. And given how some of these companies are looking now with generics coming in and threatening some of their core businesses, they are very aggressive on the acquisition front. And again, it's Merger Monday yesterday, and of course the pharmaceuticals were right there.
I saw total enterprise value to EBITDA on Tiffany was 17 times the FT had.
Yeah,
it's jaw-dropping.
Yeah, as our guest said earlier, it's about the brand. You're not buying retail, you're buying the brand.
I remember Laura Piano was taken out, and people said that will never happen ever again. Wrong.
Yeah. Well, Bulgari was taken out by LVMH at 23 times EBITDA, if you remember back in the day.
I went in the store once. Have you ever been in Bulgari?
No.
They don't have the silver bracelet floor.
Yeah. Well, I will say this about Novartis. I think it's really interesting. How do you value pharmaceutical companies that bet on one-hit wonders? That bet on regulatory approval?
That's a good question.
This is how do you measure the multiples?
Well, you talk about beta, the biotech stocks. Wow.
Yeah.
It is almost a binary type situation. It either works or it doesn't.
Well, your binary situation on a Tuesday into this holiday week is Chairman Powell giving you the lift that keeps on giving. In Providence, Rhode Island last night, Chairman Powell made it real clear, and the language was very, very careful. Much more than a glass half full. That word much is a huge deal.
I think this shows how much less pressure is on him because everybody knows the Fed is on hold, so he can just extol the virtues of the economy without worrying about freaking out the market about rate hikes or anything else that they might do.
There is, he speaks, and we usually don't play this song when Pharaoh's here, We just, we don't. He's off writing his manifesto.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm going to be dancing.
Stay with us. This is Bloomberg Surveillance. Good morning.
There is simply nothing else like it. Giraffe strut, birds swoop, gazelles leap. And as the music soars, the entire Serengeti comes to life around you. This is Disney's The Lion King. Experience it at London's Lyceum Theatre. Visit thelionking.co.uk.
At Lidl, we're big on those little reasons to be jolly. Like our delicious Favorina all-butter mini Stollen bites for just $1.99. And 6 deluxe mince pies for just $1.35. Big on a Christmas you can believe in. Now that's big on quality and always Lidl on price. Subject to availability, selected stores excludes an eye.
On 3, our unlimited data is actually unlimited, like for reals. That means you can scroll and scroll and scroll through all the Black Friday deals.
Because we have no speed limits, no data caps, and you'll be 5G ready at no extra cost.
Wow, so many savings.
Our Black Friday deals are now on. Save up to £480. Switch to 3, in-store or online. See 3.co.uk/unlimited-data. Savings on selected phones on 24-month contracts. Ends 5th of December. Terms apply.
Keys? Check. Lunchbox? Check. 8-year-old ready to go? Check. There's one more thing you should check before you leave. Your travel. There's a new segregated section of Cycleway 4 under construction on the A200 Creek Road around the junction with Deptford Church Street. So expect delays due to lane closures. Plan ahead and check alternative routes at tfl.gov.uk. To the Mayor of London and TfL, every journey matters.
Capital of the world, 24 hours a day at Bloomberg.com, on the Bloomberg Business app, and at TikTok on Twitter. This is Bloomberg Radio. This is Bloomberg Surveillance Economics.
The good news is the economy is strong. The bad news is the economy is strong.
Financial crises take a really long time to recover from.
Finance.
The strong job market's pulling people back in.
You can't have for very long, monetary union without a fiscal union.
Investment.
What we preach is extreme diversification.
It's hard to have sustained productivity without capital investment.
Bloomberg Surveillance with Tom Keene and Paul Sweeney on Bloomberg Radio.
Good morning, everyone. Paul Sweeney and Tom Keene. Fair off writing a manifesto. We're not sure what it's about. AC Milan, maybe, or a tots.
The demise of AC Milan.
We're English football free today, which is lower the audience from 12 people down to 8 people as well. Lisa Abramowitz here. Isn't it nice having sort of an English football free morning?
I mean,
it's a whole new world.
I'm going to watch my words. Yeah, a whole new. Yeah. Stop now. It's not going to be a Disney World in terms of our singing choices.
Very good. Well, we are here with Flat, and we're getting into the holiday mode. Yields come in a little bit, and I'm watching yen 108.99. It's been a stronger yen the last couple of days. Some of you following Bitcoin got some emails on that. Under 7,000 right now, 7,100. Churning here at a new lower level. Bloomberg Surveillance, always brought to you by Cohn Resnick. Planning a transaction, turn your tax strategy into a competitive advantage. To learn how, visit Cohn Resnick's Capital Markets Tax Resource Center at CohnResnick.com/tax insight. It's a Lake Moraine show. We had Steve Sadov in from Saks, and of course now with MasterCard out of Hamilton College. And also up at Lake Moraine is a small school called Colgate, and we welcome a gentleman out of Colgate, Eric Friedman, Chief Investment Officer. He'll be out in the field hockey fields watching various offspring do what they do. That's what you do on Thanksgiving weekend. And he is here, and this is an important interview, folks, for people who are behind. Eric Friedman with U.S. Bank Wealth Management. Eric, you got lots of people who demanded that you stay cautious with their portfolios, and they're not up 25% this year. What is to do if I did not enjoy the big lift?
Tom, good morning, and thanks so much for having me on. We do think you should stay involved here. It has been a lot of swings in terms of forward looks at the economy, and yet the economy is doing well. Corporate profits are hanging in there, so we still think that having more of a pro-growth bias in portfolios makes sense.
I mean, you talk about field hockey, and one of your issues is out there playing this weekend. Before they changed the field hockey rules, there was a whistle like every 3 seconds. They would blow the whistle like every 32 seconds or whatever. That's the kind of stock market we had this year.
Well, but Eric, that actually is a question here. When do you blow the whistle and all of the optimism heading into 2020, given the fact that that is the consensus trade right now? What's going to potentially unravel that?
Lisa, this is really stuff that you do a great job reporting on with your credit background. We think the first cracks in the foundation will show up in credit, and it's just not there yet. The areas we're really focused on are commercial real estate. I know you mentioned in an earlier segment you've got a piece on that coming up. You also mentioned leveraged loans, and we also think that auto loans are places that really bear watching. But even with those three areas showing some caution flags going up, we don't think it's enough to really offset the move. The other variable that would certainly come into play would be higher yields from the sovereign debt complex, but we're just not seeing that materialize either. So again, we're not looking at this with our head in the sand saying, look, this will be an ongoing momentum phenomenon, but we think we have to see some more credit or interest rate movements to cause us to shift that opinion. We're just not seeing it yet.
So, Eric, if we're still constructive on the economy and the Fed is on the sidelines, how far out should I be going on the risk curve there in terms of equities? Am I thinking about international equities? Am I thinking about emerging markets? Or do I stick with my large cap domestic?
I think, Paul, the way that we position clients is to first and foremost have domestic equities, predominantly large cap and also mid caps, which did recently break out to new all-time highs. They had lagged at large caps for some time. We'd really emphasize those two areas first. We think that international developed, and as you see on the first page of Bloomberg today, it is the pain trade for most equity investors here, just because it's been so sluggish for so long, and it keeps moving higher. But we think that it's still too early to be aggressive with an EM. We also think it's way too early to be involved in areas like microcap. So I'd say that out of a 10, if you will, with 10 being max risk and being, really on the sidelines. We think a 7 is probably the right posturing here, again, until we see a shift in credit fundamentals that we're just not seeing quite yet.
U.S. equities versus European equities. Which do you prefer?
We prefer U.S. still. Lisa, think that the European data, particularly the issues in Germany, remain concerning. And again, not concerning in the point of being out of the space, but we'd really emphasize being more overweight domestic, mid and large, and being slightly overweight international, but again, emphasizing developed, but not at the expense of U.S.
So, Eric, what would you characterize as probably the greatest risk to what I would characterize as your fairly constructive outlook for equities here? What keeps you up at night? Is it just trade, or are there some other things out there?
We think, Paul, that trade is really what we call an edgeless phenomenon. We're just price takers in the news flow. There's really not a way to gain an edge on what may happen. So we are certainly concerned about it. There are some things that we're, of course, going to look at. We think the election is not much of an issue right here, right now. The biggest thing that we could see as being a risk factor would be indiscriminate buying. We're just not seeing that quite yet. So if you compound corporate buybacks with retail saying, you know what, I want to step in here, I've missed this move, and institutional investors also being concerned, that would be the biggest concern that we would have, would be indiscriminate buying. Still too soon to see that, but again, that's something we're going to pay close attention to.
Eric Friedman with us, U.S. Bank Wealth Management. Eric, what do you hear from your clients? One of my big failures is I am in the Bloomberg bubble. I mean, folks, you have no idea how constrained my reality is. Eric, what are people actually saying about the equity market? Is there a genuine enthusiasm?
Tom, I'd say it's really more of a skeptical eye saying, how long can this last? That's the first concern that we hear. And the second big concern that we hear is just, what about my bond portfolio? And I understand as they hear all the prognostications about low rates and low returns, people, of course, are all getting older, and they're saying, what should I own besides bonds for safety? And as the equity market keeps grinding higher, the concerns as yields remain relatively stable, those are two things that we hear pretty consistently.
Is dividend growth a proxy for yield?
It is a reasonable proxy for yield, especially back to Lisa's comment on international developed. You've got a dividend yield of 3.5%, which is certainly attractive. But, the way that we look at it without getting into all the technicalities, Tom, we look at the risk premium difference between what U.S. equities are spitting off versus treasuries. And globally speaking, equity risk premium are very, very low relative to fixed income, meaning we think that there's still really attractive levels, stocks versus bonds. But again, that can get skewed, with that indiscriminate buying. So we still think that yield is a reasonable indicator. And right now, just given how low yields are for competing assets, that drives us still towards being more involved in equities and fixed income.
So, Eric, earlier this morning, Tom Keene was making fun of me as I was talking about how you worry and worry and worry, and then you just get sick of worrying. But I do feel like that kind of sums up people's calls for next year, that basically things aren't so bad, so why not buy risk? So is that an accurate characterization, given the fact that there isn't a whole lot of enthusiasm right now either?
I think that is a fair characterization, Lisa. The issue that you have, especially right now for investors, is where else are you going to go? Again, that fear of missing out. There is no alternative. All the acronyms that are out there in terms of more bullish equity market positioning prognostications. At some point, again, there is still the opportunity for diversification. We still think that if you look at what Tom would call full faith and credit type of bonds, they do exist. And so pairing together some risk posturing, again, domestic equities, international developed, with full faith and credit fixed income, we still think this is a good environment to make money. And it's a matter of just committing to that plan, committing to doing it. But of course, getting people to just commit to it and doing it incrementally oftentimes is the best medicine. That's really the tactic that we think has been helpful for investors, even those that have been missing out. That's been at least our coaching process with them.
Eric Friedman, good luck with the field hockey this Thanksgiving Day. Mr. Friedman is with U.S. Bank Wealth Management as well. Just got a message in, enough with Ohio-Michigan State. Can you talk about the real game, which is Detroit Lions? Michael Barr, it is like mom, dad, pecan pie, the whole thing. It's like Norman Rockwell. Are the Lions going to give us the goods on Thursday?
a Detroit Lions fan.
Happy Thanksgiving.
Happy Thanksgiving.
Pecan pie versus pumpkin pie. I think pumpkin.
I'm there.
Really?
Yep.
Yeah, definitely. Not pecan. Pecan's too sweet. Anyway.
Let's put it this way. Now our backup quarterback is hurt. So now there's a question if we need another quarterback. So
Michael, we were talking pumpkin pie.
We're more talking pie in the face after watching this Lions
Michael
game.
Barr, do you cook at home Thanksgiving?
Hot dogs.
Hot dogs.
Yeah.
Sounds like the Keene household. Anyways, we're getting ready for the holidays. We hope you travel over the next number of days safely. Lots going on. Be careful out there. Record travel this holiday. Futures up 1. This is Bloomberg.
Let's get national headlines right now with Michael Barr. Michael.
Paul, Tom, Lisa, thank you very much. A federal judge has rejected the Trump administration's argument that former White House counsel Don McGahn and other presidential aides have absolutely immunity from testifying to Congress. Judge Ketanji Brown Jackson wrote that not even the president's closest aides who receive subpoenas from Congress can ignore or defy the congressional compulsory process. The judge says American history shows presidents are not kings. The Trump administration plans to appeal the decision. German police have launched an international manhunt for the thieves who broke into the Green Vault in a palace in Dresden and got away with some of Europe's most priceless jewels. Global news 24 hours a day on air and at TikTok, on Twitter. Go Lions, powered by more than 2,700 journalists and analysts in more than 120 countries. Go Lions. I'm Michael Barr. This is Bloomberg Tom.
I'm Michael Barr. Thanks so much. 10-year yield in a basis point, 1.74%. Boss Trini, Lisa Bramowitz, John Farrell on Manifesto Lead. This is Bloomberg.
Down a dirty road, started out.
Imagine being denied an apartment because of your religion, or your race, or because you have children, or a disability.
It's so wrong. Yes, but who has the power to stop this?
You do. Each of us has the power. The law is on your side. It's illegal for landlords to discriminate because of race, color, religion, sex, national origin, disability, or familial status. If you suspect that you have experienced housing discrimination, file a complaint with HUD immediately so we can investigate it. Fair housing is your right.
Use it.
To learn more, visit HUD.gov/fairhousing. That's HUD.gov/fairhousing. Or call 1-800-669-9777. 1-800-669-9777. A public service message from HUD in partnership with the National Fair Housing Alliance.
Why do hedge funds and other alternative managers rely on Pershing? Mark Alderati, a managing director at BNY Mellon's Pershing and head of Prime Services, explains.
In today's environment of market volatility, Pershing's Prime Services is well positioned to support the needs of hedge funds and other alternative investment managers. Whether it's customized financing or securities lending solutions, platform access, or business expansion, BNY Mellon's Pershing is a prime broker who's committed to this business and agile enough to meet your evolving demands. Pershing helps to solve the needs of clients by advocating for them, providing unwavering strength, deep supply, and award-winning service that is at the core of everything we do. Find out what sets Pershing's prime brokerage team apart.
Learn more about the unique and industry-leading solutions for hedge funds and other alternative managers offered by BNY Mellon's Pershing. Visit our website at Pershing.com. Pershing LLC, member FINRA, NYSE, SIPC.
Have you wanted to speak? 'Tis the season to be hunched over your laptop. Not on our watch. In real life, you can feel your senses and your baskets. Feel all the sights, sounds, lols, and OMGs. Wear laughing emojis on actual smiley faces. Battery is running low. Take the kids to Santa's Grotto. In real life, you can find just the right present using the most advanced search engine in the world. Your eyes. We hunt in real life. Brent Cross, London. Free parking for all sleighs and cars.
On 3, our unlimited data is actually unlimited, like 4 reels. That means you can scroll and scroll and scroll through all the Black Friday deals.
Because we have no speed limits, no data caps, and you'll be 5G ready at no extra cost.
Wow, so many savings.
Our Black Friday deals are now on. Save up to £480. Switch to 3, in-store or online. See 3.co.uk/unlimited-data. Savings on selected phones on 24-month contracts. Ends 5th of December. Terms apply.
For the independent bookseller who found you that first edition. For the baker who brings the smell of freshly baked breads to your door.
And for the barista who never needs to ask your name.
We've all got a part to play.
Every little tap keeps your high street alive.
And helps your communities thrive.
So if you love where you live, shop small.
Shopping on your local high street can make a big difference. Shop small. Only by American Express.
There is simply nothing else like it. Giraffe strut, bird swoop, gazelles leap. And as the music soars, the entire Serengeti comes to life around you. This is Disney's The Lion King. Experience it at London's Lyceum Theatre. Visit thelionking.co.uk.
The company known for its zoomable presentation platform recently launched a video version of it. Prezi Video is a video recording software that lets users add graphics in real time while having their face on the screen next to the visual content during a presentation. Joining us to discuss how it could change video conferences, Prezi co-founder and CEO Peter Arvai. Peter, great to have you. Talk to me more about this video and how you plan to help increase internal communications with it for corporations.
Yes, we just launched this product and we designed it for people to have something to say and made it possible for people to literally hold their ideas in their hands. Now, this is of course something that weathermen have been able to do for ages, but they've had an entire studio to do that. And so what we've done is made it possible for anyone with their laptop and the camera on that to be able to do this. And it's also possible to do not just in live situations in a meeting like the one we're doing now, it's also possible to do in recorded situations, so that unless you don't have to learn a complicated editing tool, you can actually create these presentations in a matter of minutes.
Hear more interviews like this one on Bloomberg Television, streaming live on Bloomberg.com and on the Bloomberg mobile app, or check your local cable listings. Markets, headlines, and breaking news 24 hours a day at Bloomberg.com, the Bloomberg Business app, and TikTok on Twitter. This is a Bloomberg Business Flash.
And I'm Karen Moscow. It is 8:17 on Wall Street. Futures are a little change to higher this morning. Let's go to the First Word breaking news desk for today's morning call. Here's Bill Maloney. Bill, good morning.
And good morning, Karen. A modest bid in the futures since the last time we spoke. Dow futures now up 35 points. S&P's gained 2, and Nasdaq futures climbed by 6. The U.S. 10-year yield at 1.74%. Shanghai was little changed overnight, while European markets are trading mixed right now. Back in the U.S. on the economic front at 8:30, trade balance and wholesale inventories. And at 10 o'clock, Richmond Fed, new home sales, and consumer confidence. After the bell last night, Palo Alto Networks cut its full-year guidance. HPE revenue missed estimates. And regarding some of the earnings this morning, Best Buy sales beat estimates. Dick's Sporting is up 11% after its earnings. And Analog Devices missed estimates. Wrapping things up, Molson Coors was cut to market perform at BMO. Commercial Metals raised to buy at Deutsche Bank. And Comerica cut to equal weight over at Morgan Stanley. Live from the First Breaking News Desk, I'm Bill Maloney. Karen?
All right, Bill, thank you. To hear live breaking news over your Bloomberg, type squawk on your terminal, SQUAWK. And that's a Bloomberg Business Flash. Tom, Paul, and Lisa.
Karen, thanks so much. We're going to talk Dell now, and I guess HP. There's a lot to talk about there. Paul, our next guest, I hate, because he told me in February of 2014, Tom, just shut up and buy Microsoft.
Absolutely.
Anon was so far out front on the de-Ballmerization of Microsoft. It is up 289%, 22.7% per year since I looked at Anon and said, really?
So you missed that trade?
Missed.
But you're in cash, so you're safe. Your assets are safe.
Yeah, cash, I'm safe.
Anand Srinivasan, Senior Technology Analyst for Bloomberg Intelligence, joins us here on our Bloomberg Interactive Broker Studio. So we had HP Enterprises last night report, a little disappointing. Dell reporting after the close tonight. What are you seeing out of some of your hardware and chip makers this quarter?
Look, the broad context is that corporate IT spending is weak.
has been weak for the past couple of quarters and will continue to remain weak for the next couple of quarters. So we're talking.
Why is that? Why are they not spending on tech? I thought everybody's spending on tech.
Exactly, but uncertainty keeps coming back again and again and again as an indication of we don't know where things are going. So I'm going to rein in my spending a little bit. See when things become a little bit more clear, I'm going to open up my purse strings a little bit. So that's one part of it. The second part of it is the move to the cloud, where you are a little bit more flexible. You get a bigger bang for your buck. So people are redirecting monies to the cloud, number one, public cloud specifically. And secondly, within the private cloud and corporate IT spending context, they are a little bit more stingy with their dollars, given the uncertainty.
I have my HP 12C calculator, and I just figured out how much Thanksgiving is going to cost me. And it's an outrageous number. Does HP have anything to do with the HP we used to HP? And now look at Sweeney's. Where's your HP 12C, Lisa? Come on, get with it. It's an app.
Gentlemen, some of us evolve and use the BA2+.
Oh, really?
Yes. Mine was issued June 16th, 1986.
It's Nerd Patrol. Okay.
That's right. That's right.
Are they the HP we used to know?
Yes. So HPE, so remember they spun out their enterprise business. HPE does servers and storage and mostly corporate IT spending related stuff. HP, the parent company from which the enterprise business was spun off, still does printers and PCs, and that is going through a tumultuous potential link up with Xerox.
I'm struggling to understand servers, storage, the cloud. That was the sweet spot, the bright spot. You saw all sorts of growth there. That's coming in disappointing. Retail was supposed to be dead. You're seeing that actually beating estimates today with Best Buy. Are we seeing a new paradigm shift?
An upside down world. So that's a great point. But remember, from a cloud spending standpoint, the cloud over the last several years has moved away from branded hardware into non-branded hardware. If you have never heard of Quanta, they're one of the top server makers in the world. HPE makes servers and sells servers into corporate enterprises such as ourselves. Amazon does not buy from Dell or HPE or Lenovo. They buy from Quanta. They buy from Inspur. They buy from WeWin. These are direct makers of servers that sometimes brand boxes for Dell and HPE.
So why is it that the barrier of entry isn't higher for some of these generics, I would say, or non-branded companies that are taking business away from HP?
So you have to have a very robust services organization, and you have to be able to be remarkably specific and require no hand-holding in order to, and buy in bulk. We're talking hundreds of thousands of servers in order to be able to go direct to the manufacturer. If you can't, and you want 5 nines reliability, then you want to go to HPE or Dell.
And now for the dumb question of the day. I'm in charge. Where are all the servers? All this cloud stuff?
Are they in Iceland because it's cold?
Where are they?
It's Iceland and
so there are mega data centers distributed all over the globe, predominantly in the northern hemisphere. Yes, in colder regions. In some places where it can't be cold, they have.
It's like
you're serious about that?
I'm not kidding.
It's like that James Bond movie. In Iceland.
They are actually.
That's because of electricity and all that thermodynamics?
Yeah, so 25% of data centers' operating expenses are heating and cooling. So they want to be in colder regions.
Is Amazon green? Can you say they're green, or is AWS
Amazon is greener than the corporate data center. Microsoft is greener than the average data center. Their use of renewable power is high. Wind, solar, hydroelectric is actually very high. It's a big piece of the puzzle, and it is a part of the equation.
Can you come back more often? We'll show you. Paul and I will show you how to do internal rate of return on the HP 12C. Because it has a calendar in it.
Yes, it does.
Delta days.
I'll bring out my FX82C, gentlemen.
What do you have?
That's the Casio engineering calculator.
He's an engineer.
I'll have to look at this one.
There's some Greek symbols on there that we're not aware of.
It's amazing at a bar what you can do with an HP 12C.
Pecan pie or pumpkin pie?
Both. People.
Both. See that? Both. That's the engineer answer right there.
You really have both? I mean, isn't pecan too sweet?
No.
No.
It can't be.
No, you have a side of bourbon, things will be just fine. Thank you.
There we go. And that's Srinivasian. Thank you so much. We don't see enough. We got to have you back in more. And this huge thing is changing all of our lives, the cloud. And I really wonder seriously about the thermodynamics of it.
I just learned something from Lisa today about they are put in colder dynamics in colder areas. Interesting.
There have been a bunch of really
John from Coventry emails in. He says, play more Linus, play more Lucy. Vince, good morning. Drive careful this holiday season.
This is a Bloomberg Market Minute. Exporting goods shares are jumping higher after the athletic and leisure retailer raised its full-year earnings forecast for the third time this year. It also reported quarterly results that topped analyst estimates. Not to be outdone, Best Buy also posted quarterly sales that topped estimates and raised its full-year outlook. Comparable store sales in the U.S., a key gauge of performance, were up 2%, beating analyst projections. Turns out the American tradition of mobbing stores and scouring websites in search of discounts the day after Thanksgiving has international appeal. While Black Friday is just a regular workday for most of the world, that's not stopping retailers from jumping on the bandwagon. From Colombia to Hungary and Pakistan, companies are using the Black Friday formula to give their sales a year-end boost. Shopping online is the reason. It's easy and it's convenient. Stock futures, little change to higher. Dow futures up 27. Gina Cervetti, Bloomberg Radio.
Why has J.D. Power ranked Commonwealth Financial Network #1 in independent advisor satisfaction among financial investment firms for the 6th straight time? We think it comes down to one thing: you. Because it's your input and feedback that keeps us focused on what's most important to you and your clients and continually pushes us to be the best we can be. Maybe that's why we receive top marks in every category of the J.D. Power 2019 Advisor Satisfaction Survey. They named us #1 in client support, #1 in firm leadership, #1 in operational support, #1 in compensation, #1 in professional development support, and #1 in technology support. Ready to partner with the best? Call Commonwealth at 866-462-3638 or visit commonwealth.com. And feel the power. Member FINRA SIPC, a registered investment advisor. For 2019 J.D. Power Award information, visit jdpower.com/awards.
There are plenty of parties over the festive period. They'll have food and drink, music too. Some will even have rides and fireworks. But one has all that, plus a big something extra. Big Game 12 is London's biggest rugby party. To watch Harlequins take on Leicester Tigers from just £17 a ticket for children and £27 for adults, go to tickets.quins.co.uk or search Big Game 12. Kick-off 4:30pm, Saturday 28th of December, Twickenham Stadium.
There is simply nothing else like it. Giraffe strut, birds swoop, gazelles leap. And as the music soars, the entire Serengeti comes to life around you. This is Disney's The Lion King. Experience it at London's Lyceum Theatre. Visit thelionking.co.uk.
At Lidl, we're big on those little reasons to be jolly. Like our delicious Favorina all-butter mini Stollen bites for just $1.99. And 6 deluxe mince pies for just $1.35. Big on a Christmas you can believe in. Now that's big on quality and always Lidl on price. Subject to availability, selected stores excludes an eye.
On 3, our unlimited data is actually unlimited, like for reals. That means you can scroll and scroll and scroll through all the Black Friday deals.
Because we have no speed limits, no data caps, and you'll be 5G ready at no extra cost.
Wow, so many savings.
Our Black Friday deals are now on. Save up to £480. Switch to 3, in-store or online. See 3.co.uk/unlimited-data. Savings on selected phones on 24-month contracts. Ends 5th of December. Terms apply.
This Black Friday, get Sky Entertainment for £22 a month. Then enjoy a spectacular 50% off Sky Cinema, including Christmas movies like Mary Poppins Returns and The Grinch. Build your perfect bundle today. Choose any or all of our Sky TV packages and get an incredible 50% off. Hurry, join today. Visit sky.com.
Offer ends 2nd of December. New 18-month minimum terms or 31 days notice to cancel depending on package. Discount on standard pricing with same minimum terms. Set up £25. Kit loaned at no cost.
Going, gone.
Some things just don't hang around. Like a great deal in Tesco Mobile's best ever Black Friday event. Right now you can get the Samsung Galaxy S10 for just $29.99 a month. But this deal ends Sunday 1st of December. Catch it before it's gone. Tesco Mobile's best ever Black Friday event. Tesco Mobile. Every little helps.
Best ever Black Friday based on range of products in promotion was £35.99, now £29.99. Offer ends 1st of December. 36-month credit agreement, rolling monthly usage agreement, subject to status, phase policy applies. See tescomobile.com/terms.
Broadcasting live from the Bloomberg Interactive Broker Studio in New York. Bloomberg 1130 to Washington, D.C. Bloomberg 99.1 to Boston. Bloomberg 106.1 to San Francisco. Bloomberg 960 to the country. Sirius XM Channel 119 and around the globe. The Bloomberg Business app and BloombergRadio.com. This is Bloomberg Surveillance.
Good morning, everyone. Our economic indicators brought to you by Commonwealth Financial Network. For the 6th straight time, J.D. Power ranks Commonwealth #1 in independent advisor satisfaction among financial investment firms. Visit Commonwealth.com to learn more. That's Commonwealth.com to learn more. And we thank them for their commitment to us and to our 8:30 economics, of which there are 3 items today. I'm not going to dash through this. No big deal. Maybe advanced goods trade balance is a little better than survey, and retail inventories nudge. They're like churn, I'll call it. It's what's coming at 9 a.m. We've got Case-Shiller and that housing index. I did that chart today. I'll put that out on Twitter for radio to see. We're really under 3% on year-over-year 20-city Case-Shiller. And again, there's a couple months look back on Case-Shiller as well. So we'll see how they do into October and November and to year-end. We'll see that date in 30 days and even 60 days. New home sales out at 10 a.m. Of course, everything truncated this week. GDP, we get a second look tomorrow. And look for that. And of course, on the economy, Lisa, there always needs to be a tweak and an update with a real mystery about the consumer.
Yeah, season of forecasting right now, and the forecasts seem to be pretty positive heading into 2020. And luckily, we have joining us the author of Economic Modeling in the Post-Great Recession Era to try to understand whether these forecasts are all that accurate or whether they've gotten less predictive. Sarah House, Wells Fargo Securities Senior Economist, joining us now. Sarah, I want to go to that point because there have been a lot of predictions in the past few years that we're going to see a downturn, that we're going to see the dollar weaken. They have not come to fruition. Do you feel like forecasting has become more art and much less science in the post-Great Recession era?
I think we certainly have, just as you've seen a lot of the rules change, or at least what we thought were previously held assumptions are harder to hold now. And then I think more recently, of course, we've seen an added dose of political uncertainty enter into the forecasting realm. And so you've had to make a lot of assumptions about what some of the policy environment is, perhaps much more so than we did in prior expansions.
So, Sarah, this economy has really been driven by the consumer. We've seen some weakness over the last several quarters, obviously in manufacturing and business investment. As you look out to 2020, is it still the consumer that's going to push this economy forward?
I think it's still the consumer that's going to be primarily in the driver's seat, but I think we're going to see some convergence. So there are some tentative signs of the industrial sector activity there at least stabilizing. It's nothing really to write home about, but it's at least no longer getting worse. But I think you're also seeing some moderation in the consumer sector. So we had a really good middle part of the year where spending was growing in real terms about 3.5%. That's still a little bit better than what disposable income is doing. And so we're seeing a bit of a moderation there, but it's really just kind of a return to trend, and fundamentals still look pretty good. So still expecting some good numbers out of the consumer next year.
Sarah, in the time we've got left to do, your magic is a single page. You'll write it. It'll have 3 charts and some brilliant text. You hit the ball out of the park on our health insurance costs. The CPI health insurance cost is a double-digit moonshot. Are we finally, 12 years on from a horrific Great Recession, are we finally back to legit 4% plus per year healthcare inflation?
Well, I think we're moving that direction. So not nearly to the extent that the CPI insurance numbers cover, and those don't actually feed into the Fed's PCE deflator. But we've seen PPI health insurance pick up. That is subject to where the PCE numbers come from. And basically, we've had labor costs in the healthcare space picking up, rising faster than inflation for 7 years. So, there's only so much margin compression that we can see here before some of those costs
Sarah,
get passed on.
This is critical, Sarah. Our listeners aren't living PCE. They're living healthcare costs, which is not the number one or two, but maybe it's the number 3 thing I get in mail. I mean, does the Fed understand our inflation is different than their inflation?
I think they are. We saw that even in Powell's speech last night, where he mentioned that a lot of households feel inflation is higher, whether it's looking at what your housing costs are doing versus how it's actually measured. Healthcare costs, we see it in the auto sector where nominal transaction prices have been rising consistently, but because of the way inflation is calculated, the Fed knows that it's a bit lower, and they're not worried about a few tenths here and there.
So, Sarah, does that suggest that right now the market is discounting one rate cut in September? Is that kind of where you're figuring it's going to play out?
So right now we still have one more rate cut in our forecast in Q1, but that's predicated on the assumption that we don't get any meaningful phase one deal, and we still see those December 15th tariffs go into place. So trade is still the primary driver, I think, of the near-term Fed outlook. If we do get some sort of deal, then I think we'd have to revisit that, where that still is, really the significant near-term risk on the horizon. So it's all going to lead back to trade.
Sarah House, thank you so much. Just brilliant on healthcare inflation. Can't say enough about that. We protect the copyright of our guests. Please get that important essay through Wells Fargo. There is a headline, and it's a big deal because there is a dearth of fixed income and bond debt, even in Europe, but particularly in Asia. It's a single headline, Lisa. Pick up on that, Lisa.
Yeah, China raising $6 billion of dollar bonds. This is a record sale, and it comes as they increase their external debt sales. This follows a euro debt sale. The goal here, in part, aside from just raising money, is to pave a path for the corporate borrowers, the Chinese companies that are looking to diversify their sources of income. They're creating a yield curve for them in the U.S., in Europe, so that they have a place to price when they go out and sell. And this was a highly oversubscribed deal.
And what's really important is what you said. It's creating a yield curve. We'll have to come back on that. China raising $6 billion of dollar bonds. Futures flat. Stay with us. This is Bloomberg.
Let's get national headlines right now with Michael Barr. Michael.
Thank you, Paul. Thank you, Lisa. Thank you, Tom. Defense Secretary Mark Esper declared that President Trump ordered him to stop a disciplinary review of a Navy SEAL accused of battlefield misconduct. Esper's comments were the latest twist in the case of Chief Petty Officer Edward Gallagher, which led to a conflict between Trump and armed services leaders over military discipline. The dispute peaked over the weekend with the firing of Navy Secretary Richard Spencer. Now Spencer is talking. He told CBS Trump's interference is not good for soldiers.
What message does that send to the troops?
Well, what message does it send?
That you can get away with things. We have to have good order and discipline. It's the backbone of what we do.
Gallagher was acquitted of murder and the stabbing death of an Islamic State militant captive, but convicted by a military jury opposing with the corpse while in Iraq in 2017. A federal judge ruled that former White House counsel Don McGahn must testify before the House in the impeachment inquiry. The Trump administration plans to appeal the ruling, which means it could be decided by the Supreme Court. Global news, 24 hours a day, on air and at TikTok, on Twitter, powered by more than 2,700 journalists and analysts in more than 120 countries. I'm Michael Barr. This is Bloomberg Time.
Michael Barr, thanks so much. Time now for the Bloomberg NBC Sports Report. Here's John Stashar.
Tom Mooney, it's Kyrie Irving. The Nets without him have won 4 in a row last night in Cleveland. The Cavs rallied to tie the game, but it was Brooklyn ball at the end.
Joe Harris will inbound near side in front of the net bench. Gets it in up top for Dinwiddie. Game in his hands. Crossover, top of the key. Fall away jumper. Goal! good with 1.6 seconds to go. Nets take a 2-point lead. Cleveland with no timeouts. They've got to go the length of the floor.
Nets radio called it. Brooklyn won 108-106. Spencer Dinwiddie's taken over in Irving's absence. 6 straight games with 20 or more points. He had 23 last night. Jared Allen, 22 points, 21 rebounds. Carmelo Anthony turned back the clock. The ex-Knick with 25 points. And Portland's win 50 points for Milwaukee's Giannis Antetokounmpo. And the Lakers won again. They're now 15-2. Dramatic win for the Rangers at the Garden. Late power play goal by Chris Kreider tied the game in overtime. The Rangers won the faceoff, and before Minnesota ever touched the puck, Tony DeAngelo scored. The Rangers won 3-2. In Anaheim, the Ducks shut out the Islanders 3-0. That ends the Isles club record 17-game point scoring streak. It's their first loss in regulation since October 11th. Monday Night Massacre in L.A. The Ravens routed the Rams 45-6. Lamar Jackson again put on a show, 5 touchdown passes. His teammate Mark Ingram continued to campaign for the star QB.
LJ, MVP, if you got a problem, come see me. Just run that back from last week. That's all I'm going to say. Man, people been trying me. They can't validate their opinions. So, LJ for MVP.
Hard to argue with the numbers, and the Ravens have won 7 in a row. The Giants have lost 7 straight. They won't have safety Jabril Peppers Sunday against Green Bay. He's got an injured hip. With the Bloomberg NBC Sports Update, I'm John Stashauer. Tom?
And John, thanks so much. Let me do a complete data check. We sort of slipped on that today, given the pre-holiday. Futures up 1, Dow futures up 29. The VIX gets my attention, 11.87. Paul, we're really in like a holiday mode.
We are.
I mean,
that's as low as we've seen the VIX for a while.
Natural lift.
The natural lift. I think, again, a little bit of positive talk on the sideline, on the fringes about trade.
Curve flattening. You see it in the 3-month 10s, of vanilla 2-10s as well, 14.83 on the 2-10 spread. Yen, we always watch 108.97. This is Bloomberg.
Asset managers who seize change to launch new strategies, add distribution channels, or exploit new technology to re-engineer the investor experience are often rewarded. However, in an industry paralyzed with complexity, few act with agility or decisively. Few run their business strategically. Yet, the most competitive managers in the market know, with the right partner and a flexible operating platform, you can. Go boldly toward change with SEI Investment Manager Services.
Determination and operational strength are both essential factors for growth in asset management. I'm Steve Meyer, President, Head of SEI's Investment Manager Services Division. We know that disruptive forces create opportunities around the world. If you see potential in change, our industry specialists will maximize SEI's integrated platform of data and risk management, global investment operations, compliance support, and investor services to position your asset management business for success. Come grow with us.
With SEI Investment Manager Services, you lead the charge in a competitive marketplace. Learn more at SEIC.com/seize change.
Business is constantly evolving. Is your financial printer evolving to keep ahead of the curve? At Command Financial, we are redefining financial printing by providing industry-leading expertise, leveraging technology, and honing processes and best practices. Every day, Command helps SEC registrants, as well as members of their working groups, including securities attorneys and investment bankers, prepare, file, and disseminate regulatory and disclosure documents, such as registration statements, M&A documents, and mutual fund prospectuses and reports. Command provides a full range of services to help you effectively complete your deal, meet your disclosure requirements, and achieve your shareholder communications objectives. Visit our website at commandfinancial.com and learn how we're evolving, not only with the times, but also with your business requirements. Command Financial, redefining financial printing.
'Tis the season to be hunched over your laptop. Not on our watch. In real life, you can feel your senses and your baskets. Feel all the sights, sounds, lols, and OMGs. Wear laughing emojis on actual smiley faces. Battery is running low. Take the kids to Santa's Grotto. In real life, you can find just the right present using the most advanced search engine in the world. Your eyes. We hunt in real life. Brent Cross, London. Free parking for all sleighs and cars.
There is simply nothing else like it. Giraffes strut, birds swoop, gazelles leap. And as the music soars, the entire Serengeti comes to life around you. This is Disney's The Lion King. Experience it at London's Lyceum Theatre. Visit thelionking.co.uk.
On 3, our unlimited data is actually unlimited, like 4 reels. That means you can scroll and scroll and scroll through all the Black Friday deals.
Because we have no speed limits, no data caps, and you'll be 5G ready at no extra cost.
Wow, so many savings.
Our Black Friday deals are now on. Save up to £480. Switch to 3, in-store or online. See 3.co.uk/unlimited-data. Savings on selected phones on 24-month contracts. Ends 5th of December. Terms apply.
Keys? Check. Lunchbox? Check. 8-year-old ready to go? Check. There's one more thing you should check before you leave. Your travel. There's a new segregated section of Cycleway 4 under construction on the A200 Creek Road around the junction with Deptford Church Street. So expect delays due to lane closures. Plan ahead and check alternative routes at tfl.gov.uk. To the Mayor of London and TfL, every journey matters.
Did you really get those trainers half price?
Yeah, nice, right? From Zalando. They have new deals every day for Cyber Week.
This is an express service to a whole week of cyber deals, calling out footwear, sportswear, winter looks, designer styles, and more.
Cyber Week at Zalando. Save up to 70% on your favourite styles. Zalando. Free to be.
Makers to a network of news and financial information 24 hours a day. Powered by more than 2,700 journalists and analysts in more than 120 countries. This is Bloomberg Radio. Now, a global news update.
A federal judge has ordered former White House counsel Don McGahn to appear before Congress in a setback to President Trump's effort to keep his top aides from testifying. The outcome could lead to renewed efforts by Democrats to compel testimony from other high-ranking officials. The death toll from a magnitude 6.4 earthquake that shook the country of Albania has risen to 6. Hundreds of people have been injured.
Several buildings collapsed. There's a rescue effort going on right now all over Albania in the areas that are most affected. Namely the city of Durrës, which is a port in the Adriatic.
There's correspondent Blendy Salah. Lucy Kavanaugh is in Denver, where the snow flurries are flying.
Here in Colorado, we are in the midst of one of the worst snowstorms in recent memory. We've already got several inches of snow. They're expecting nearly a foot of snow here in the metro area.
At Denver International Airport, some 250 flights today were canceled. More cancellations are likely. I'm John Trout.
For the latest business analysis, talk to the best.
Tell me about the collaborations.
And listen to the best.
What are the ethical dilemmas?
Bloomberg Business Week, weekday afternoons at 2 Eastern on Bloomberg Radio. Bloomberg, the world is listening. Markets, headlines, and breaking news 24 hours a day at Bloomberg.com, the Bloomberg Business app, and at TikTok on Twitter. This is a Bloomberg Business Flash.
And I'm Karen Moscow. U.S. stock index futures are drifting as investors search for signs of progress in China's comments about prospects for a Phase 1 trade deal. We check the markets every 15 minutes throughout the trading day on Bloomberg. S&P futures are up a point. Dow futures up 30. NASDAQ futures up 5. The DAX in Germany, little change, down less than 0.1%. The 10-year Treasury up 5/30 seconds, yield 1.73%. Yield on the 2-year, 1.58%. NYMEX crude oil up 0.6%. 35 cents at 58.36 a barrel. COMEX gold is down 0.1%, down $1.90 to 14.61.90 an ounce. The euro 1.1019 against the dollar. British pound 1.2854 and the yen 108.98. Watching shares of Best Buy up more than 4% this morning after it entered the holiday shopping season with good momentum after posting quarterly sales that topped estimates and raised its full year outlook. And Dick's Sporting Goods also higher, up 11.5%. It boosted its earnings forecast for the year, beating the highest estimate of analysts we surveyed. And that's a Bloomberg Business Flash. Tom, Paul, and Lisa.
Karen, thanks so much. Our interview of the day in politics, it is with James Stavridis, the Admiral, author, out with a wonderful new book, and of course writing often for Bloomberg Opinion. He is a Carlyle Group advisor. Admiral, you know I've wanted to talk to you for days here. There was a point in 74 and 75 where it was not cool to do what Stavridis did. And at that point also, James Stavridis, there was a Marine aviator named Spencer who in 1976 or whatever actually went into the military. It was the opposite. What do you and the Secretary of Navy, Mr. Spencer, agree on that is so appalling of his termination?
I think it is appalling that he's been abruptly terminated
over a disagreement about good order and discipline in the service, Tom. And what's happened here is President Trump has chosen, I think, unwisely to issue pardons to a trio of war criminals. One is in the Navy, a man named Edward Gallagher. He was convicted of posing with corpses, taking trophy photographs, completely unacceptable. Secretary Spencer disagreed with the idea that he should continue on with his SEAL pin. Mm-hmm. That came to a head over the weekend. Secretary Spencer was fired, not to put too fine a point on it.
7 years into your tenure with the Navy, I got my dose of the Navy, like so many of our listeners, which was centered on the authority of Richard Gere and Deborah Winger, an officer and a gentleman. And the answer is there in the movie, folks, and for those of you younger that haven't seen it, go see it for what it is. I'm sure it's dated. But that movie was the transition of staff or enlisted over to being an officer. Explain the tension here between the officers and the enlisted with this SEAL that President Trump is supporting.
I think in this particular case, Tom, the SEALs are very distinct from the rest of the Navy. They don't have that kind of abrupt, bright, shiny line between enlisted and officer. And in fact, accused alongside Chief Petty Officer Edward Gallagher are both officers and fellow enlisted. Those SEAL teams tend to play very loosely across those lines. But here's the point, Tom. With these SEALs, we ask them to go into the worst kind of combat, the harshest hand-to-hand, the hardest thing anybody does. So what Secretary Spencer was trying to do was say simply, let's take this case and put it in front of a jury of SEALs and let the SEALs, as peers, make that determination whether or not Chief Gallagher should continue on. I think that would have been the right course of action. However, President Trump, as is his right, chose to reach in and simply execute a pardon in this case. And that undermines good order and discipline. That's why Secretary Spencer left.
Admiral, before I bring in my colleagues, Lisa Bramowitz and Paul Sweeney, the wonderful new book, Sailing True North, is about these admirals from the past. Let's cut to the chase. What would Hyman Rickover say of this moment for his Navy?
He would say that above all, we have to follow the facts wherever they lead and not be tangled up in politics. And this is what Admiral Hyman Rickover did. He knew the Navy needed nuclear-powered submarines, nuclear-powered aircraft carriers, and he relentlessly followed the facts. He was not a nice guy kind of leader, but he was someone who always told the truth, no matter how bitter a pill it was to swallow. In these troubled times for our Navy, from our ship collisions to this particular case, we need to follow the facts with real integrity.
Lisa?
Admiral Stavridis, I'm wondering what the morale hit is like from this, whether there is any impact in the rank and file in the Navy from the headlines we've been seeing.
The Navy would like to just get off the ridge line here and not be a target. And this really goes back about 2 years ago when we had those terrible collisions. We've had before that a series of scandals in the Western Pacific, admirals behaving badly. Here we have some SEALs behaving badly. I think the general position of the Navy today is, boy, can't we just get off that ridge line and do our business at sea? But in order to do that, Lisa, we have got to do things right and professionally. And I think the real challenge for the brand new Chief of Naval Operations, Admiral Michael Gilday, will be how he takes this moment and turns it into a learning experience for the rank and file Navy.
Admiral, can you give us a sense, and our listeners a sense, of what life is like within the SEALs in terms of their camaraderie, in terms of how they work together and how they really stick together?
It is, without question, the tightest fraternity in the world. To become a SEAL, you have to undergo a year and a half of unbelievably intense training. At times, the attrition rate in those cohorts approaches 90%, if you can imagine. These are extremely skilled officers and enlisted men. They bond together. They go into combat together. They're admirable in any way, and I want to make a point here. The behavior of Chief Gallagher, this posing with trophy corpses, that is not what our SEALs are all about. They are a a superb part of the U.S. Navy. We're all very proud of them.
Right.
But that doesn't mean that we don't have to, from time to time, take disciplinary action when something goes wrong.
The defense secretary isn't normal. He was on the left hook into Kuwait. He is a lieutenant colonel. He is a Bronze Star member. Have you been surprised that the Secretary of Defense did not resign with the Secretary of Navy?
I think that's an intensely personal decision, and I wouldn't want to try and put myself in his place. But I will say this. By all reports, he has gone to the White House. He's gone toe-to-toe with the president. He's taken the chairman of the Joint Chiefs, Mark Milley, an Army officer, a very tough combat experienced officer. They did everything they could to talk the president out of this course of action. At this point, it becomes the override goes to the president. It is an intensely personal moment. I think Secretary Esper probably believes that he can do more good staying on in this situation. But Secretary Spencer took a different course.
This is so fascinating. Of course, James Trevitas with us, who was vetted for vice president the last time around by the Democratic Party. Are we at a point where the president loses his core military support?
We are not. And by the way, Tom, I was also asked to Trump Tower and interviewed by President Trump.
I did not know that.
For a potential cabinet position. You can look it up on the internet. But my point is, I'm bipartisan. I'm a registered independent. To answer the question, I do not believe the president will lose core support over this because, again, the military wants to do its job professionally. We will soldier up and sail on in this particular case. But I think the president needs to think long-term about the impact of this on the battlefield because we want our soldiers, sailors, airmen, and Marine to be different than our opponents. We want to live up to those standards. So pardons ought to be very, very carefully considered in that environment.
Admiral, when you talk about the battlefield, I'm wondering, just to wrap it all together, if you could give us a sense of where you see internationally the biggest threat or the biggest place of focus where the Navy should be centered.
I think it is the South China Sea, and this is because China claims the entire South China Sea, a massive body of water the size of the Caribbean Sea, as territorial waters. We need to be forward in those seas. We need to work with our allies, partners, and friends in Asia because we are entering a new era of great power competition. We have got to work with our allies, partners, and friends. South China Sea is where I see your Navy in the decade ahead.
Should we or can we show the flag in Hong Kong this holiday season?
I think it would be very difficult because China would not allow us to do so. What we should do, Tom, is operate extensively in those waters. I would advocate, for example, port visit Taiwan.
Interesting. Admiral Trevitas, thank you so much. Greatly, greatly appreciated for all of us at Bloomberg. The new book, Sailing True North, I should say, 10 Admirals in the Voyage of Character is out. It is extraordinary, particularly for those of you older, on Admiral Rickover. Just extraordinary chapter on Rickovers. Trevitas, of course, with the Carlyle Group. We will have this interview out across all of our social media. McKinnon and the team will have this out featured on podcasts as well, on Apple, on Spotify, and the other sources as well. And I should say, Lisa, John and I have been absolutely stunned by the podcast statistics that we are given.
Yes, a lot of people.
John and I had a running bet when we get over 1,000 downloads, a month, and we've done a little better than that.
Yeah, it is important to hear what Admiral Trevitas has to say on this because he is someone with such rich experience. Interesting about the North China Sea.
Yeah,
focus there.
There it is. Futures up 1, Dow futures up 25. Stay with us. This is Bloomberg.
Tis the season to be hunched over your laptop. Not on our watch. In real life, you can fill your senses and your baskets. Feel all the sights, sounds, lols, and OMGs. Wear laughing emojis on actual smiley faces. Battery is running low. Take the kids to Santa's Grotto. In real life, you can find just the right present using the most advanced search engine in the world. Your eyes. We can't in real life. Brent Cross, London. Free parking for all sleighs and cars.
I love Black Friday. Busy shops, crazy people, average deals. It's so much fun.
Said no one ever. So be savvy and do Black Friday the easy way with Smarty. Grab a huge 100-gig data SIM for just £17 a month on the Mega Plan. And with no credit checks, speed restrictions or contracts tying you down, you can kick back with the best Black Friday deal around. Now that's Smarty. Search Smarty Mobile to find out more, but hurry, as this deal won't be around for long. See smarty.co.uk for terms.
There is simply nothing else like it. Giraffe strut, bird swoop, gazelles leap. And as the music soars, the entire Serengeti comes to life around you. This is Disney's The Lion King. Experience it at London's Lyceum Theatre. Visit thelionking.co.uk.
24 hours a day at Bloomberg.com, on the Bloomberg Business app, and at TikTok on Twitter. This is Bloomberg Radio. This is Bloomberg Surveillance Economics.
The Federal Reserve's independence is crucial.
Central banks should be prepared and not presumptuous.
Finance.
In order to grow, you need to innovate.
Global money doesn't like uncertainty.
Investment.
I think the issue in the market is really more about the possibility of a recession in the next couple of years.
I do think we need to get back to where we have always been, the American dream.
Bloomberg Surveillance with Tom Keene and Paul Sweeney on Bloomberg Radio.
Good morning, everyone. Paul Sweeney and Tom Keene. It's not a Merger Tuesday. It isn't, Paul, right? I mean, Merger Monday, or was that yesterday?
That was yesterday. That was a heck of a Merger Monday.
It was. $70 gazillion of mergers yesterday. Nice strategic analysis there by Bloomberg and everybody out in business finances. Well, we thank Steve Sadoff, of course, for years, the force at Saks Fifth Avenue, for good perspective this morning on retail and Tiffany's and all that. In New York, S&P, Case-Shiller out. The numbers pretty much come in a little better, 2.10% year over year, 20-city index. That's dated. It's back 2 months at least, maybe even 3 months. It's not present news, but nevertheless, that trend is there. Certainly, we can say sub 3% housing lift year over year. New home sales coming up here in 59 minutes. As we welcome all of you. We're in holiday mode. The screen looks it. I'm not going to mince words about it, but it's sure in there. And of course, the Dow closing yesterday, 28,066. It may not be Merger Tuesday, but there's still some transactions of discussion in preparation for Thanksgiving. I've got my Fitbit on my wrist. Battery's not charged up. There's my Fitbit on the wrist, and I'll probably go to my Dell computer to monitor the calories over 5,000 that we get. David Wilson, what do you have?
All right. Well, you've set it up, Tom. Let's start with Dell Technologies. The shares are up 2% in early trading. People familiar with the matter said the computer company is exploring the sale of its RSA security unit. They said Dell is hoping the cybersecurity business may fetch at least $1 billion, including debt. And Fitbit is the most active stock in early trading. It's up 3%. The maker of fitness trackers disclosed Alphabet's Google unit wasn't the only company to make a takeover offer. The other suitor's name wasn't disclosed, and that offer was valued at $7.30 a share, or 5 cents less than Google ultimately agreed to pay. So, yeah, there are things happening. We've got some technology earnings that didn't go over so well. Analog Devices, one of them, down 2.5%. The chip maker's profit for the fiscal fourth quarter came up short of analyst average estimate in the Bloomberg survey. Sales were just below the average projection as well. Hewlett-Packard Enterprises down 4.5%. Fiscal fourth quarter revenue at the maker of server computers dropped more than analysts expected. The sales decline, by the way, was the fourth in a row. Palo Alto Networks down 8%. The networking equipment maker's profit and revenue forecasts for the fiscal second quarter were lower than estimates. Palo Alto also cut full-year forecasts. You also have a disappointment in retailing out of Dollar Tree. That stock's down 13.5%. The dollar store chain forecast fiscal fourth quarter sales at trailed estimates. Dollar Tree cut its full-year profit forecast, even though third quarter results were in line with projections. We're also seeing rival Dollar General lower in early trading, about 2.5%. Best Buy, though, that stock's up 4%. The consumer electronics sellers' earnings for the fiscal third quarter beat estimates. Sales at stores open more than a year surpassed projections in a survey by Consensus Metrics. Dick's Sporting Goods is up 11%. The retailer's earnings for the fiscal third quarter topped analysts' highest estimate, and Dick's raised its full-year profit forecast. You have Nutanix. This is a company that makes internet-based software for business networks. It's up 18%. Nutanix posted a narrower loss and higher revenue for the fiscal first quarter than analysts predicted. And Cracker Barrel Old Country Store, unfortunately, down 3.5%.
Country boy breakfast.
Absolutely. Restaurant chains' first quarter sales missed estimates in a Consensus Metrics survey. And I got to mention a couple of smaller companies that are really doing well in early trading. Chemocentrics. This stock has more than quadrupled. Yeah, the drug developers proposed treatment for an autoimmune disease.
Why doesn't Wilson ever tell us about these before they quadruple?
Exactly.
Well, anyway, they proposed treatment for an autoimmune disease that met the main goals of a final stage study, and there's another company pursuing a similar drug called Inflarex. That stock's up 9.5%.
Can I note Disney?
Yes.
Been good, reaching out to a Frozen 2 almost record high here.
Yeah. Everybody's happy with Disney.
Actually, it was a record yesterday, and it's higher today.
Okay,
it's up 1.5%.
Have you seen the movie?
I have not. All I've seen so far are the windows advertising the movie as part of Saks Fifth Avenue's holiday display.
Very good.
They tied that in.
Holiday spirit with D. Wilson.
Bloomberg Stocks editor Dave Wilson, thank you so much.
David, thank you.
Tom, you know, the Supreme Court is going to be very busy in this session talking about immigration. The Trump administration's focus on immigration has crowded the U.S. Supreme Court's docket with an unusually large number of these cases this term. To get the latest, we welcome Kimberly Robinson, Bloomberg Law Supreme Court reporter, joining us on the phone. Kimberly, thanks so much for joining us. Give us an idea of how the Supreme Court docket is shaping up and the focus on these immigration cases.
Is an unusually large number of these cases. So many of your listeners will know that the Supreme Court is considering whether or not the Trump administration can wind down the Obama-era DACA program that's protected many dreamers from deportation and giving them work authorization. But the court has also agreed to hear 7 other immigration cases this term, and it still has room on its docket with some potentially other very consequential immigration cases coming up to the court.
So, Kimberly, we know that the court has moved to the right during the Trump administration. Is there an expectation within your community, the legal community, about how the court maybe thinks about immigration broadly?
Well, it's important to put immigration cases kind of into buckets. So we see these really high-profile immigration cases, as I mentioned, DACA, of course, the travel ban, that really go to the executive's power over immigration. And we have seen a lot of the conservatives on the court, including Trump's 2 nominees, say that the executive has a lot of authority in this area. But then there are more run-of-the-mill cases, and these cases really implicate things that are less along political and ideological lines, things that go to the heart of the separation of powers between the president and courts.
In the time we got left with you, Kimberly, let us ask some legal 101 questions. And if you don't want to, if it's beneath you to do this, please speak up. When the president says, I'm going to go to the Supreme Court, what actually happens? I mean, does he send like a letter or a postcard over? Help?
Well, often what he's doing is signaling to the Justice Department and in particular the Solicitor General's office to tell the Supreme Court that it wants it to take a look at the administration's policies.
What does that mean, take a look? Like, is it like a formal process?
Well, in many cases, what they're doing is just asking for some temporary relief. And so we saw just the other day that the Supreme Court stayed a House subpoena, and that was one of the cases that the Trump administration asked the Supreme Court to weigh in because the lower courts were being overly aggressive.
But they delay there, don't they? I mean, it's just a matter of time before they actually, rule on a formal decision on that?
That can be the ultimate goal, and I believe that is the goal of the Trump administration in the House subpoena. Sometimes, though, it is just to buy some more time. And we've actually seen the Supreme Court give a lot of leeway to the Trump administration with these kind of temporary requests, kind of granting an unusual number to the Solicitor General's office.
Kimberly, it's noted here that typically the justices will hear between 1 and 5 immigration cases per term. They've got 8 on the docket here. Does that suggest that the president has some real influence on the court in terms of what it decides to hear?
Well, I think it really depends on who you ask to say whether or what are bringing all these immigration cases. So opponents of the president's immigration policies say that he's being overly aggressive in his enforcement of immigration cases and sometimes acting illegally. The president's supporters on the other side say that Congress has really abdicated its role to fill in immigration policies and that courts are just stepping in to make it up. In reality, it's probably a little bit of both. We do know that this is a big priority for the Trump administration, and we do know that Congress has failed to really fill in the blanks for courts who are acting kind of in between the lines here.
Kimberly, thank you so much. Kimberly Robinson with us, just brilliant. And really dense, wonderful writing on the Supreme Court, case by case. There's a real intelligence there within the Bloomberg law reporting. Paul, there's a headline out. We talked to Anand Srinivasan about this a little bit. Xerox confirms intention to engage directly with HP holders.
Yeah.
So does that mean HP is going to come out with a headline that says HP confirms intention to engage directly with Xerox holders?
Yeah, it's interesting. It suggests to me that Xerox is clearly serious about moving forward with this HP deal. I'm not sure HP feels the same way, but it's, we kind of characterize this as two older technologies coming together. But as Anand has written in his research, a deal makes, a lot of sense for these two companies individually to get together. Should
point out as well, particularly for those on the way to the airport and into national, both MSNBC and CNN reporting a White House on lockdown, a plane in a restricted space. This is Bloomberg.
Let's get national headlines right now with Michael Barr. Michael.
Thank you very much, Paul. Thank you, Tom. House Democrats say they hope former White House counsel Don McGahn will promptly appear before Congress now that a judge has ruled against President Trump's administration. But hold the phone. The Trump administration filed an appeal this morning on the ruling. The administration had argued that McGahn and other presidential aides have absolute immunity from testifying to Congress. The judge wrote such immunity does not exist and said presidents are not kings. The House Intelligence Committee's report on its impeachment investigation may come out as soon as next week. Committee Chairman Adam Schiff tells colleagues in a letter that the evidence of wrongdoing and misconduct by President Trump is, quote, clear and hardly in dispute. Global news, 24 hours a day, on air and at TikTok, on Twitter, powered by more than 2,700 journalists and analysts in more than 120 countries. I'm Michael Barr. This is Bloomberg, Paul.
Thank you very much, Michael Barr. We've got futures slightly in the green. S&P up 0.5 point, Dow up 22, NASDAQ up 2 points. This is Bloomberg.
Have you wanted to speak a new language, but you thought it'd be too hard or take too much time? Then go to Babbel.com, download the app, and try it for free. In just 15 minutes a day, you'll be on your way to speaking a new language in just a few weeks. And right now, you can try Babbel for free. Babbel starts out teaching you words and phrases by matching them with pictures. You won't believe how easy the interactive program is. Soon the sentences get a little bigger, and before you know it, you're having simulated conversations voiced by native speakers. And because Babbel is crafted by language experts and uses the spaced repetition method, in just 10 to 15 minutes a day, you'll be speaking the language of your choice with real confidence. With Babbel, you can speak a language. Just go to Babbel.com and start your first lesson in the language of your choice for free. Download the Babbel app or go to Babbel.com and try it for free. That's Babbel.com.
Hey y'all, Jeff Foxworthy here. Now, if you've ever found yourself repeating the same thing over and over for 75 years, you might be Smokey Bear.
Only you can prevent wildfires.
That's why I'm filling in for Smokey to switch things up, because there's a lot more to say. And I should know because my grandfather was a firefighter. And one of the things he taught me is that the people that love the outdoors the most are often the ones accidentally starting wildfires, which means always BYOB. No, bring your own bucket to the campfire. And be extra careful with things like burning yard trimmings. Don't just walk away, or chances are you might be starting a wildfire. So for the love of the outdoors, go to SmokeyBear.com to learn more about wildfire prevention. Brought to you by the U.S. Forest Service, your state forester, and the Ad Council.
I've got to tell you about our beautiful city break in Bath. Midweek is the perfect time to beat the crowds. Just an hour and a half by train from London. It was so relaxing. We headed straight for Bath Christmas Market. Oh, I can still smell the roasted chestnuts and mulled wine from the chalets. We dropped off our Christmas shopping at the hotel. Then it was off to be spellbound at the Theatre Royal Bath. There's so much to do in Bath. I'm already planning my next trip.
Discover the magic of Bath this Christmas. Plan ahead at visitbath.co.uk/Christmas.
There is simply nothing else like it. Giraffe strut, bird swoop, gazelles leap. And as the music soars, the entire Serengeti comes to life around you. This is Disney's The Lion King. Experience it at London's Lyceum Theatre. Visit thelionking.co.uk.
At Lidl, we're big on those little reasons to be jolly, like our delicious Favorina all-butter mini Stollen bites for just $1.99 and 6 deluxe mince pies for just $1.35. Big on a Christmas you can believe in. Now that's big on quality and always Lidl on price. Subject to availability, selected stores, exclusion I.
On 3, our unlimited data is actually unlimited, like for reals. That means you can scroll and scroll and scroll through all the Black Friday deals.
Because we have no speed limits, no data caps, and you'll be 5G ready at no extra cost.
Wow, so many savings.
Our Black Friday deals are now on. Save up to £480. Switch to 3, in-store or online. See 3.co.uk/unlimited-data. Savings on selected phones on 24-month contracts. Ends 5th of December. Terms apply.
From Bloomberg Television, here's Youssef Kamel El-Din.
Fed Chairman Jay Powell remains optimistic about the U.S. economy, striking an upbeat tone about record expansion and signaling interest rates will probably remain on hold. His latest speech includes that he sees the glass, quote, much more than half full, and that with the right policies, the U.S. can build on its gains and spread the benefits more widely. Still with us is the Commonwealth Bank MS and head of global markets research, Stephen Halmerick. The 210 spread in the United States at the moment on the longest flattening streak in about 2 years. From some of the key indicators you're looking at, what do you expect the Fed to do in 2020?
Yes, well, I think that flattening yield curve is one of the signs that we've been watching pretty closely in terms of expectations of a moderation in U.S. economic growth. So we are expecting a resumption of the easings from the Fed starting in March next year. So we've got 3 rate cuts in our forecast for next year, March, June, September at this point in time. So as we've heard from the Fed chair, is pretty confident in the outlook for the U.S. economy at the moment. But so we think another 4 months or so time, there'll be enough signs of some moderation in the pace of growth and inflation still well below that 2% target to see some further easing in policy.
Hear more interviews like this one on Bloomberg Television, streaming live on Bloomberg.com and on the Bloomberg mobile app, or check your local cable listings. Markets, headlines, and breaking news 24 hours a day at Bloomberg.com, the Bloomberg Business app, and at TikTok on Twitter. This is a Bloomberg Business Flash.
And I'm Karen Moscow. And U.S. stock index futures are little changed to higher as investors search for signs of progress in China's comments about prospects for a Phase 1 trade deal. We check the markets every 15 minutes throughout the trading day on Bloomberg. S&P futures up 1.5 points. Dow futures up 29. NASDAQ futures up 5. The DAX in Germany's down 0.1%. 10-year Treasury up 5/30 seconds. Yield 1.73%. Yield on the 2-year 1.58%. NYMEX crude oil up 0.4% or 24 cents at $58.25 a barrel. COMEX gold is down 0.1%, down $2 to $14.6180 an ounce. The euro 1.1016 against the dollar, British pound 1.2854, and the yen at 108.97. And Xerox is confirming intentions to engage directly with HP shareholders as it continues to pursue an unsolicited merger. And that's a Bloomberg Business Flash. Tom and Paul.
Karen, thanks so much. We're going to do this down a Tuesday. This is sort of like a Friday chat with Ebony Williams. We can do this. And we got like 8 ways to go. Lions, Thanksgiving, Ohio State, Michigan, we did. want to talk about Lamar Jackson. Explain to people not in the Ravens know, how special is this kid?
Yeah, so he's the Ravens quarterback. He's been
22.
Playing lights out. He's 22 years old. Got a lot of criticism coming out of college. People thought that, the running quarterback thing had been tried and failed enough times in the NFL.
Football power.
Went to Louisville. There were rumors that when he was drafted by the Ravens, that there were coaches there that wanted to make him a wide receiver, which obviously now in retrospect looks idiotic if that is true. But now, the Ravens are 9-2. They just blew out the Rams on Monday Night Football. They look fantastic. The offense is humming. He's a great story.
Wow. And then I think, are they playing the Niners coming up this weekend? That could be the game. Weekend.
They are. I think for a lot of people in the NFL watching the game last night, the question was, who can stop this? Who can stop this kid? Who can stop this offense? If there's one team out there that can, it's the 49ers.
Why is he different than Doug Flutie?
He's going way back.
Significantly more mobile.
Like
is the big thing. Michael Vick, I think, is the best comparison, and he passes the ball at least yesterday pretty darn well. I also saw, which blew my mind, he's made 18 starts, I think, in his career. He's already in the top 50 in all-time quarterback rushing yards.
That is so cool.
And he's 22 years old.
I interrupted you when you were going over what are the 49ers going to do to stop this guy?
Oh, yeah. I think the 49ers are largely considered to be, they have the best record in football. They're probably the best defense. Them are the Patriots. So people, I think, are excited to see this kind of high-flying, really exciting offense go against a big defense.
Football's dead. The ratings.
I was just going to ask Evan. Remember a couple of years ago, people were talking about with all the kneeling and all this kind of stuff. How is the NFL doing?
It's funny. The NFL is doing very well. The ratings are high this year. It's pretty clear that in this fractured media landscape, live sports and especially live football continues to be the thing that is keeping people glued to their televisions in mass audiences.
So does Jeff Bezos, do these guys with these egos, do they step in and ramp up those rights if you're telling me it's all anybody watches?
Oh, the rights are going to go through the roof. Fox just sold out its Super Bowl ads, 5.6 million for 30-second spots.
Wow.
And I was talking to one of the Fox executives on the phone this week, and one of the things he said, he was like, listen, live sports is the only thing that is really drawing people right now, and really it's really just live football, and it's playoff football, right? so it is clear, if you're Fox, if you're CBS, if you're NBC, retaining your NFL rights is priority number 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 in the next 5 years when you look at your sports portfolio.
And as I understand, the NFL rights are coming up 2021?
Yeah, so almost all of them. I believe the ESPN deal, which is Monday night, and then the big three, which is CBS, NBC, and Fox, they're all up in 21, 22, and 22, 23. So, right now those are billion-dollar contracts. I think $3 billion a year for those big three. And my guess is they're going to go up significantly.
So where does college football fit in this? Obviously, there's Ohio State, Michigan. We beat that to death earlier this morning. But is that like a spec, or is that like getting the same?
College ratings are doing fairly well. There are a number of. College football games get rated much higher than NBA games nationally, for example. Football,
I did not know that.
Football itself is just so popular. And the thing about college football is you reach into markets where there are no NBA teams, where people don't particularly care that much about basketball as a sport, So
see how he doesn't mention hockey? See
nothing.
That shade.
Nothing. You need Luke Kawa for hockey. He's your go-to.
Tom, I'm with you on the hockey, but unfortunately, a large amount of North America is not. Unfortunately,
Paul saved me.
Well, the interesting thing about college football is it is a regional, but there's a lot of networks now. Like, it seems like all the leagues have their own network. Are those leagues and those networks, like the Big Ten Network and the SEC Network, do they actually make money?
Oh, yeah, for sure. And a lot of them have done theirs. The SEC, the ACC, they're both kind of in the ESPN stable of networks, right? So they get the benefit of ESPN's negotiating power with cable providers, which is huge. The really interesting one of the Big Five conferences, the Pac-12, which didn't partner with anybody. There was a time when they were potentially selling stake in their media to private equity. They've decided probably not to go that route, but they're still looking for a partner, which could be like an Amazon or a Facebook, some kind of digital provider there. I think a lot of eyes are on Pac-12.
Not having, right?
Yeah, it's hurt them for sure. The football and basketball has not been great in the past couple of years, but there are a lot of eyeballs saying, I wonder what happens with that.
60 seconds left, Evan Noble Williams. who's going to put the Knicks, the Rangers, and that mess out of business? I mean, we covered this on Surveillance the other day with someone possibly that would put them out of their pain.
One of my favorite things to talk about with the Jim Dolan ownership, I don't think the Rangers have been that poorly run, right? It's amazing to me that the Knicks have been this bad and have been this mismanaged. But the Rangers, as you know, Tom, they've been to Stanley Cups in the past 10 years. They make the playoffs fairly consistently.
Because Dolan likes basketball more?
The understanding that I have heard from people who have worked there is that he is much more hands-on from a basketball standpoint, doesn't care as much about hockey, and therefore lets hockey kind of do its own thing. But I would say that the Rangers have been a fairly successful organization over the past 20 years, and the Knicks absolutely have not.
A great briefing. We got to do and Evan Novi-Williams with us, writing for sports for all of Bloomberg. With what's the other guy's name?
Soshnick or something.
Yeah, you can forget about him.
He's always doing hockey.
Thank you. Anyways, on the economics of sports, and of course this bidding war, we mentioned it for the NFL, maybe the Olympics even.
And they have a great podcast with Michael Barr, The Business of Sports.
Oh, they do they?
They do.
Usually we speak with Mr. Barr, and he's completely fixing. Did you see him wearing the Lions blue today? He's like already into.
He's trying his best for Thanksgiving.
Thanksgiving ballet. Futures. Up to, there it is. It's a Detroit Lions theme song. This is Bloomberg.
This is a Bloomberg Market Minute. The futures have been essentially directionless this morning after the key indexes advanced to record highs yesterday. We did get a couple of positive reports from the retail sector. Best Buy's third quarter numbers topped forecast, and the chain raised its sales and earnings outlook for the year. And Dick's Sporting Goods raised its outlook for the year after posting third quarter earnings that beat estimates. Shares of both chains are higher in pre-market trading. The holidays cause financial stress for a lot of consumers because they mean added expenses, and a national survey by Experian suggests the holidays may be motivating a lot of people to improve their finances. The top two goals for 2020: save more money and increase credit scores. Fed Chairman Jay Powell spoke in Providence, Rhode Island last night. His upbeat comments on the economy suggested to Fed observers that interest rates will likely stay right where they are for some time to come. Jeff Bellinger, Bloomberg Radio.
Startups and research universities like New Jersey Institute of Technology are fueling the innovation economy. And few people are better positioned to see what's on the horizon in New Jersey than physicist and state representative Andrew Zwicker.
How technology is transforming our financial sector is revolutionary, and so much of that is in New Jersey. We are innovators when it comes to agriculture, and there is opportunity now for great transformation in how are we going to grow food in an ever-growing population, and how do we turn urban centers into agricultural centers. Autonomous vehicles is another one where we have some of the world's leading experts, and how this will transform how those who are either elderly or are visually impaired or mobilely impaired can start to use autonomous vehicles to transform their lives and have access to transportation they could have never had before.
NJIT, New Jersey Institute of Technology. Learn more at njit.edu/research.
Asset management.
Listen up, it's the head teacher here. Please pay attention. We need you all to collect as many Books for Schools tokens and the Sun as possible. When we've got 3,500, the school will get over £600 worth of free books. If you don't, it's detention. Start collecting Books for Schools tokens and the Sun today. T's and C's apply.
There is simply nothing else like it. Giraffe strut, bird swoop, gazelles leap. And as the music soars, the entire Serengeti comes to life around you. This is Disney's The Lion King. Experience it at London's Lyceum Theatre. Visit thelionking.co.uk.
At Lidl, we're big on all those Christmas parties. The season to be jolly. Try our Party Time Indian snack selection for only $2.99. And our Party Time mac and cheese bites for just $1.19. Big on a Christmas you can believe in. Now that's big on quality and always Lidl on price. Subject to availability, selected stores excludes an eye.
On 3, our unlimited data is actually unlimited, like for reals. That means you can scroll and scroll and scroll through all the Black Friday deals.
Because we have no speed limits, no data caps, and you'll be 5G ready at no extra cost.
Wow, so many savings.
Our Black Friday deals are now on. Save up to £480. Switch to 3, in-store or online. See 3.co.uk/unlimited-data. Savings on selected phones on 24-month contracts. Ends 5th of December. Terms apply.
The S in Audi S-Line stands for many things like sporty, stylish, streamlined, and now seductively priced. Like the new Audi A4 S-Line, which you can now have from £359 per month, £2,154 initial rental. Test drive one at your local Audi centre, but you'll have to be swift. The offer ends soon. Search Audi S-Line. Audi, Vorsprung durch Technik. With 48-month contract hire, 10,000 miles per annum, 18s and over, subject to status. Damage charges may apply. No ownership. Ordered by 31st of December 2019 from participating centres. Audi Financial Services. Visit audi.co.uk.
This year, make Christmas shopping a pleasure. Come to Bicester Village, with over 160 beautiful boutiques set in a fairy tale Cotswolds Christmas garden, glittering by day and magically illuminated by night. After a day's hard work finding the perfect gifts, reward yourself with festive menus and cocktails at Farm Shop Restaurant and Cafe by Soho House & Co. or a delicious dinner at Cafe Wolseley. Bicester Village, the perfect place for Christmas shopping.
Broadcasting live from the Bloomberg Interactive Brokers Studio in New York. Bloomberg 1130 to Washington, D.C. Bloomberg 99.1 to Boston. Bloomberg 106.1 to San Francisco. Bloomberg 960 to the country. Sirius XM Channel 119 and around the globe. The Bloomberg Business app and BloombergRadio.com. This is Bloomberg Surveillance.
And good morning, I'm Karen Moscow, along with Tom Keene and Paul Sweeney. And the opening bell is brought to you by SEI. Visionary asset managers find opportunity where others are challenged. Exploit disruption's potential with SEI's global operating platform. Find out how at SEIC.com/IMS. And the S&P 500 is little changed at the open at 3133. The Dow Jones Industrial Average also little changed, up 2 to 28,060. And the NASDAQ little changed, up 5 to 8637. 10-year Treasury up 5/30 seconds, yield 1.73%. Yield on the 2-year 1.58%. NYMEX crude oil up 0.4% or 25 cents at 58.25 a barrel. COMEX gold is down about 0.2%, down $2.40 at 14.6150 an ounce. The euro 1.1012 against the dollar. The yen 109.03. Tom and Paul.
Karen, thank you so much. Barry Ritholtz now writing for Bloomberg Opinion, and of course he's got a wonderful Masters in Business setup on podcast. It is a legit, wonderful podcast done weekly. Barry, what I want to do before we get to Schwab Ameritrade and what it means for all our listeners is go over your wonderful essay on this year. Holiday shopping is going to be spectacular, as they would say up in Worcester, Massachusetts, in honor of Spags. It's always way too optimistic, isn't it?
Yeah, the National Retail Federation comes out with a forecast every year. In fact, the only time it wasn't wildly optimistic was in 2009, where they were forecasting a contraction, and of course by that time so much pent-up demand post-crisis has built up that it was a giant upside surprise. But there are a couple of reasons this is always important to notice. First, we rely so much on these surveys, and if you want to know something about the future, the worst way to find that out is to take a group of random human beings and ask them what they intend to do in the future. People are simply terrible at that, and relying on that to make a forecast invariably is wrong. My track record taking the other side of the National Retail Federation is unbroken. I have taken the other side of their trade every time, and it's always been they've always been wrong, and betting against them has been a money maker.
So you're betting against the retailers going into this holiday shopping period?
Let's clarify. I'm betting against a wildly optimistic 4-point-something% increase over last year. That just is simply, and I understand how these surveys are put together. Right. They randomly stop a group of people and say, what'd you spend last year on your holiday gifts? What are you going to spend this year?
Yeah.
They take those two made-up numbers and they take the difference, and that's the retail forecast. And we as a species are simply terrible at that.
Really, they asked Afterthought what she thought, and they think Glossier is going to go large this year as well. Steve Sadoff with Saks, of course, formerly with Saks, and such an important voice in retail, looks for an up retail, but not as up as last year. And Carl Riccadonna, Bloomberg Economics, has a positively grim view on what we'll see in the holiday season. Barry, just because of time, we got to go to Schwab Ameritrade. Let's go to the regulators. Are they going to let this puppy go through?
You know, the regulators have not been very aggressive about stopping mergers. And for both Schwab and TD Ameritrade, they get to turn around and point to, hey, listen, combined, we might be $5 trillion, but our combined entity is still smaller than Fidelity, which is $7 trillion, and they're our competitor. As an RIA, as somebody who manages money for people, I like more competition. I would be very happy if the deal didn't go through. However, I just can't imagine that this administration and this FTC is going to see anything that's going to stop it. And there are very arguably economies of scale, and each, full disclosure, we custody our clients' money at both TD and Schwab. They each have different skills, different advantages. If we end up with the best of both companies, it could be really, really strong. But the argument that, hey, this is anti-competitive when you have the Fidelities and the Vanguards of the world lurking out there, kind of a hard argument to make.
So, Barry, as you look at this deal as an analyst and a fund manager, is this just one of those classic go in there and cut costs in overlapping businesses?
There's some of that. Clearly, scale makes a difference. The ability to take advantage of each other's strengths and weaknesses. Capturing another $1 trillion for Schwab certainly doesn't hurt. They will find a way to monetize. They're actually in two sort of different businesses. TD is a pure custodian. Schwab does everything. They're a fund manager. They're a retail broker. They're a direct manager. They do a little bit of everything. So scale will certainly help. The one sort of wild card is these are very distinct client groups, and I'm wondering if there'll be some integration challenges. They've already announced that the deal won't close till towards the second half of 2020, and then it'll be a 36-month integration process. You know, I have to add one other thing. This was really a brilliant strategy by Schwab to announce, we're taking our commissions to zero. Hey, it's only 6% of our revenue. But for TD, it's over 20% of their revenue. The stock plummeted almost 25%, and that's where TD subsequently swept in. They're buying this at a premium to recent price, but it's still below where TD made their announcement of going to zero commissions.
Barry, thanks so much. Barry Ritholtz with us, Too Short this morning. Masters in Business, the podcast, Bloomberg Opinion as well. We greatly appreciate it. Paul, I want to get back to the market here and you know, the basic red and green on the screen and all that. But there was an important observation. I can't remember who made it this morning in the swirl. But the idea that these are strategic mergers. These are not private equity launching in. What does private equity do when they start to see this?
It's interesting, private equity, we know, Tom, that they've been raising money just left and right. Just, you know,
to do what?
Exactly. There's so much cash on the sidelines for private equity that the risk is obviously that they start overpaying for deals because they got to put that money to work so they can go out and raise the next fund.
So
and you know when we saw that? 2006, early 2007, a lot of bad deals got done. And just in my space, Clear Channel and Univision were bad deals, bad capital structures, and they're still trying to get out of those deals. And that was a classic example of, I got to put the money to work because I got to go out and raise the next fund, and then you start doing some bad deals.
Within that is the structure of LBOs, which is you go to the company and say, let's do this so everyone wins. It's different than LVMH buying Tiffany. Here you just go to Tiffany and say, let's do the deal.
Yeah, and on that deal, I'm kind of shocked. It's been 180 years Tiffany's been in business. I'm just shocked that they're selling here. But I guess it's kind of what we're seeing in global retail, and particularly in luxury. You got to be in Asia. You got to be big in China. You got to be pretty much a global brand. And maybe, you know, I kind of thought, I know you asked that question for some people over in London, what's the brand of of Tiffany outside of the U.S., and it's not as strong as it is here.
Well, that would be Tiffany, but there are a lot of other transactions as well, as Mr. Ritholtz showed us with Schwab and TD Ameritrade. I got a holiday feel on the screen. The yen 109.07 backs up over the last hour. Euro, I'm waiting for 109. We can't get there. It's a resilient euro, 110.10. That's 1.10. That's difficult. That's like computer code.
That's right.
1.1010 on the euro. That's dollars per euro, I think, if I get my reciprocal correct. Yields have come in over the last 2 hours, 1.74%. I'm amazed Michael Barr even showed up to do his work now after Evan Novi Williams was disparaging.
Well, I'm a binary kind of guy.
Well, there it is. Stay with us. This is Bloomberg.
Let's get national headlines right now with Michael Barr. Michael.
Thank you very much, Paul. Thank you, Tom. A lockdown at the White House has been lifted after a plane strayed into restricted airspace in the D.C. area. At one point, fighter jets were dispersed, but the pilot of the plane has been deemed not to be hostile. The Trump administration has filed an appeal after a federal judge has ruled that former White House counsel Don McGahn must testify before the House in the impeachment inquiry. It means the ruling could ultimately fall to the Supreme Court. If the judge's ruling is upheld, it could tee up other top officials to testify. Hong Kong's leader called for peace today following elections over the weekend. The pro-democracy opposition made big gains in the district council elections. Hong Kong Chief Executive Carrie Lam said she cannot hold talks with the opposition until the violent protests stop.
We have started public dialogue with the community, but unfortunately with the unstable environment and the chaotic situation, I could not do more of that sort of engagement.
Hong Kong has been rocked by protests for the past 6 months against efforts by China's government to assume more control over the semi-autonomous city. Global news 24 hours a day, on air and at TikTok, on Twitter, powered by more than 2,700 journalists and analysts in more than 120 countries. I'm Michael Barr. This is Bloomberg Tom.
Michael Barr, thanks so much. Thanksgiving, we got to line up the ducks on Thanksgiving. We thank all of our Hong Kong News Bureau that have worked 24/7 in the tumultuous weeks and months that we have seen, and particularly to Eva Mann and Enda Curran for their work, but really to everyone in Hong Kong in print and in Bloomberg Media. This is Bloomberg.
Imagine being denied an apartment because of your religion, or your race, or because you have children, or a disability.
It's so wrong. Yes, but who has the power to stop this?
You do. Each of us has the power. Is on your side. It's illegal for landlords to discriminate because of race, color, religion, sex, national origin, disability, or familial status. If you suspect that you have experienced housing discrimination, file a complaint with HUD immediately so we can investigate it. Fair housing is your right.
Use it.
To learn more, visit HUD.gov/fairhousing. That's HUD.gov/fairhousing. Or call 1-800-669-9777. 1-800-669-9777. A public service message from HUD in partnership with the National Fair Housing Alliance.
Why do hedge funds and other alternative managers rely on Pershing? Mark Alderati, a managing director at BNY Mellon's Pershing and head of Prime Services, explains.
In today's environment of market volatility, Pershing's Prime Services is well positioned to support the needs of hedge funds and other alternative investment managers. Whether it's customized financing or securities lending solutions, platform access, or business expansion, BNY Mellon's Pershing is a prime broker who's committed to this business and agile enough to meet your evolving demands. Pershing helps to solve the needs of clients by advocating for them, providing unwavering strength, deep supply, and award-winning service that is at the core of everything we do. Find out what sets Pershing's prime brokerage team apart.
Learn more about the unique and industry-leading solutions for hedge funds and other alternative managers offered by BNY Mellon's Pershing. Visit our website at Pershing.com. Pershing LLC, member FINRA, NYSE, SIPC.
Whatever job you're searching for, you can find it on LinkedIn. First jobs, flexible jobs, work from home on a Friday jobs, advertising jobs, accounting jobs, HR, PR, even ER jobs, Soho jobs, Shoreditch jobs. Keep me away from the central line jobs. Banking jobs, building jobs, never ever boring jobs. Small jobs, big jobs, lunch in Borough Market jobs, or even voiceover jobs, which is how I ended up recording this ad. Search millions of jobs on LinkedIn and find one meant for you.
There is simply nothing else like it. Giraffe strut, bird swoop, gazelles leap. And as the music soars, the entire Serengeti comes to life around you. This is Disney's The Lion King. Experience it at London's Lyceum Theatre. Visit thelionking.co.uk.
At Lidl, we're big on those little reasons to be jolly. Like our delicious Favorina all butter mini stollen bites for just $1.99. And 6 deluxe mince pies for just $1.35. Big on a Christmas you can believe in. Now that's big on quality and always Lidl on price. Subject to availability, selected stores exclusion I.
Which tree do you think will look best in the living room? Norwegian spruce or Scotch pine?
Well, the real question is, do we go for a Jaguar F-Pace or an E-Pace?
What do you mean?
None of these trees will fit in our car. We definitely need a new one.
You'll find a reason. The Jaguar Black event, 29th of November to 1st of December.
Told you.
Exclusive offers only available during the Jaguar Black event. Search Jaguar Black event.
Keys? Check. Lunchbox? Check. 8-year-old ready to go? Check. There's one more thing you should check before you leave. Your travel. There's a new segregated section of Cycleway 4 under construction on the A200 Creek Road around the junction with Deptford Church Street. So expect delays due to lane closures. Plan ahead and check alternative routes at tfl.gov.uk. To the Mayor of London and TfL, every journey matters.
Coffee shop, cashback, cat flaps, cashback, beanbags, rucksack, hire car, buy a car, flapjack, cashback, dumbbells, cashback, takeaway, holiday to anywhere the sun is at, bum bag, lap, big match, hatchback, binge watching, paintballing, crab fishing, cashback. Anything you want to buy, everywhere you want to go. Guess what? Cashback. Whatever you spend your money on, get money back every time with the American Express Platinum Cashback Everyday Credit Card. Search Amex Cashback. Representative 22.9% APR variable. Minimum annual spend to receive cashback. Terms apply. 18 plus subject to approval.
A day, on air and at TikTok on Twitter. Powered by more than 2,700 journalists and analysts in over 120 countries. This is Bloomberg Radio. Now, a global news update.
Lockdown lifted. The White House went on lockdown just prior